you, Peter, for taking the time to be with us today.
My pleasure.
So as Jerry had said, one thing that is not known about Peter is how much he teaches at UCLA. So last year he actually taught more classes than I did, for less salary. So Peter, one of the topics today is about tax incentives that other states are giving, and the term runaway production. How do you feel about that?
You know, Sanjay, I think it's a misnomer, runaway production. It should be called giveaway production. And what the county, city, state failed to recognize the gifts that were in their state that made it so unique in the world, the sixth or seventh or eighth largest economy, depending on who's counting in the world. And one of the largest elements of that economy was the entertainment business. And it was centered here when I started in the 70s, very early 70s. It was centered here. It was all about that. And I think that the politicians and people took it for granted. It's one of the iconic elements of California. It's why people are aspirationally driven here. I see the young people that come here in my classes. I see them in the art forms that I teach and that I practice, and it's aspirational. But what's happened is that these other locations drive such an interesting incentive bargain, not just the tax incentive, such an incentive bargain that has lured the films away and production away and the people away. But that's not the only thing. The tsunami of digital media has allowed people to be disassociated from the actual physical act constantly together. You can have a writer in Bangor, Maine, and you could have a director developing who lives in Thailand, and they can communicate and talk with each other really in a facile way using all visual tools. You can edit cross continents. You can do all kinds of things. So the combination of technology, which disenfranchised one location, and the economic engine, which was totally here, and the talent, which also lived here, there's been a diaspora, if you will, of those forces. And you can't blame it, because the market itself the business itself. Just take the theatrical business, has really changed. When I grew up, there was one business for all films, and in the world that we lived in, we made the films in Los Angeles or New York or Northern California, and the films were of varying sizes, very small to very large, and the rest of the world was called foreign. The reason why it was called foreign, because it was foreign to most of the executives that lived in the business. And now it's called international. And foreign was a rounding error for all this product at that time. And during that whole continuum, a rounding error. It represented maybe 10% of the aftermarket, 12%, 15%, 9%, 8%. And the local markets weren't privatized for television, so that the aftermarkets of theatrical weren't really available to them. All that changed. International television, you see the entire infrastructure of capital now changing. All of that changed over the last 10 or 15 years, or maybe 20, to a point where the international for a film represents maybe 2.5 times the domestic value. So what does that mean? Not what does it do, what does it mean? It means that when people are making decisions for hundreds of millions of dollars of films, they say to themselves, what will it play in India? How will it play in China? How will it play in France? How will it play in Russia? And part of the decision-making process is that. It drives the content. It drives the gravitas of the content. And the second force that happens is that local repertoire, which was then not really as robust when I grew up the whole 70s and even the 80s, local repertoire, we call them yak films, talk films, films that weren't required for enormous production value and therefore were lower budgets, now could be made in those countries and served by their local talent, the local actors, directors, and stars, and therefore they competed more favorably against the domestic talent, our domestic product. So what happened was the marketplace, the business became like a barbell. So, those cartoons, the guys holding the barbell and two weights on each other end. On one side, you have these films, Spider-Man 3, not the most recent one, $305 million. James Bond from this studio here, $350 million plus probably $150 million in advertising, marketing and such.
So you're talking
$500 million.
Investment,
$500 million. They only really can be made out of this country, meaning not made in the country, capitalized out of this country. Local repertoire can't be made like that. So the whole industry has moved to franchise tentpole certainty and big pictures. and left the smaller pictures to independents, and they are really small. I'm making a lot of them. They are really small. But the capital constraint is that these larger number of smaller pictures, they don't have the money, and so they're going to do everything they can to squeeze the budgets. And one of the reasons they do that is because they wouldn't be able to make it unless they did it. I did that, all right? I made a film that takes place in Northern California this past year in British Columbia. It was a 27% difference in my cost. I am not a charity. I'm not a philanthropy. I give to philanthropy and I give to charity, but my business is a business. That's what I do. I run a business. If it's good for business, I do it. That's in Canada. Then I made a picture which takes place in California, in Northern California, when the game stands tall. Faith-based picture. I did Soul Surfer the year before, very successful. I made this film, When the Game Stands Tall, true story. It takes place in Northern California. Spent 2 weeks down in Louisiana. Spent the whole time down in Louisiana making the film. 1 day in Northern California just shooting backgrounds. The whole thing. Then I had another film that took place in like a Pittsburgh. I went to Berlin. I shot it in Berlin. 31% difference. 31%. That's a gigantic. You can't make a business with them. We give up 31% of margin. You'd be insane. All took place there. And on and on and on and on. And that's why these big studios, when they add 20 or 25% to a $200 million picture, the number is numbing. So that's part of the forces that's going on. Now people, talent, can live different places. Even all the technology that provides resources for location, green screen, can be done anywhere. So as a result of that, it's a very big equation of elements that make up why it moved. But what really hasn't happened, the government of California hasn't had a plan other than we'll put some tax subsidies in. It's more than that. How do you create an environment that will be conducive for the talent to live here, for the talent to really integrate here in person, socially, physically engage? How do you keep this market robust for the enterprise? It's a much more complex problem than tax subsidies because actors live everywhere, planes fly everywhere, digital technology, zeros and ones reach everywhere, and money is still money, and 30% margin is still 30% margin.
So then what you're saying is that it's more than Runaway Production, it's Runaway Creativity.
Runaway Creativity and the access to the talent pool, the access to the constant access to the give and take of being together. You know, the idea is it's not a complex problem, it's a complex solution. You know, it's exactly how to do it. The jack may be out of the box is what I really think. And it should have been resources maybe deployed against it at a much earlier point in the curve. You know, I think it's past the tipping point. That doesn't mean that another force, which is going to happen, is going to drive another new business, and that is what digital media will be in content for that digital media. This in California in particular couldn't be a great beneficiary of it. It will be, but brick and mortar won't be it. I'm not even sure it'll be click and mortar. It may just be click. So the big studios, these giant studios, Fox, you guys don't remember, but Fox was, you know, the whole of West LA. MGM was from here. When I was at Sony, we ran all the way down the street, all the way down there. There's apartments now and condos and shopping centers. More money they could make from the land than having fallow stages or not having production or not getting return on investment when their production went out. So I think we're in a period of a great sea change. And so we can't pretend when we see this that it's not a tsunami, it's a tsunami. So how we cope with it as a state is different than as an artist or as a producer, as a financier, as a movie maker. They're different coping mechanisms.
So let's talk about the next evolution of, you know, what's happening to the entertainment business. So there's the current disruption that's happening with digital, and as you said,
Right.
It might just be click. But what's the next big transformative technology in your mind?
Okay, I'll give you a kind of interesting example that comes from personal life. I was just on the phone on a conference call when I was sitting here for about half an hour with Northern California. I own the Warriors, and I'm building almost $1 billion venue like Madison Square Garden in San Francisco on the edge of the water. A major undertaking, real estate, buildings, theater, all the bells and whistles. So the people can go to the theater and watch basketball or hockey or whatever is there, or a concert. Physically get out of their home and go. And live entertainment is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable socially, but it competes very favorably against digital media. It really does. It hasn't disrupted that at all. You know, people want to be in a social environment, sharing and joining and seeing. They want to feel that they're there. They want to have that whole presence.
It's saving the music industry.
And
really.
well, it's saving a lot of things. Buckle up your seatbelts. Buckle up your seatbelts. I'll show you the new arena and the new concert hall. Here it is in my little black box. The whole thing. And instead of $1 billion, everybody has one of these. How many people here are addicted to crack cocaine? Can I show of hands? Would you raise your hands? Okay, how many people here are addicted? Lying, you're addicted to this. 270 times a day. Even when it's being charged, you're running over and looking at it. If you're in an important meeting and it bings, you go look at that. You're addicted to it. But this is a magic element, and this is just the beginning of this. This magic element is competing with my venue on steroids. So what's happening is augmented and mostly virtual reality happens. So if I was in Lhasa in Tibet about 10 months ago, well, maybe 15 months ago, relatively soon, and I was sitting at the St. Regis Hotel in Lhasa, roof of the world. Out of the window, I could see the Patola, you know, the Dalai Lama's spiritual nest. And if I wanted to find the score of the basketball game or a movie that was review or anything else at that time, 3 years, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I wouldn't even be able to get the score. I wouldn't be able to get the score. I laid in bed at 4 in the morning and watched the Warriors on this thing on NBA League Pass, full color, watched it all. Wow, pretty cool. That's okay, it's cool. And so you get a lot of people watching this on television, but it doesn't replace being there. Here is the studio. This is the studio. And this is the magic box, not this. This is probably about $40 worth of plastic. That's all it is. A couple of lenses inside of it. You take your own mobile phone and you put it inside, you turn it on, you put it inside there, and this is what you do. You put it on top of your head like this, or you just hold it to your face. And now, the game that I was watching through an app, the game that I was watching on television, a rectangular screen, maybe 5 feet from my head in a bedroom, I am now in the arena. I am part of the experience, and I am in total control. I am now not a passenger, I'm a participant. A totally different immersive experience, a totally different emotional experience. It's emotional transportation on steroids. What happens is, when you put this on, I'll tell you what I did. It's a perfect example. Friday, I think it was. I got approval from the NBA to do a test. So I went to the Warriors game, and I put the camera, really incredible camera developed by this company, on top of the table, the scorer's table in the center court. It's this big. It's the HD camera that was this big with a tethered cord, this big. You put it on top there. You sit down. I go back to the owner's room, totally away from everything, and in New York, to one of the commissioners, the team, and we watch it. It was streamed directly into this. And what I did was, when I watched the game, I was sitting in that front row seat. And so if I want to look over here to the left where they're playing, where the ball is, I look here. I want to look over right at some pretty girl, I look over here. I want to look down and look here. I want to look at the score, I look here. I want to look anywhere I want. I look up, down, everywhere I want to look. Exactly perfect. I am there. It's completely immersive. It's not television. You are in the story. And that's the way movies will be made. You'll be in the story. It is amazing. Now, I know there's a lot of work to be done yet, but this is only the beginning of this, not the end. But this will be for shopping. It will be for travel. It is an immersive, amazing property that will transform entertainment and education and provide enormous opportunity for filmmakers and storytellers in a completely different and unique way. Now, I've been around this business a long time. I built huge IMAX theaters with the IMAX headsets and everything. Everybody that put this on, one after the other, of these, I will call them civilians in this room, here's what they said. It was the same expression. Oh my God, what? So somebody new would come into the room, and we'd all sit there and laugh and say, what do you think he's going to think when she puts it on? And she says, well, just look. I said, no, you'll do the same. Does the same thing, because it's so different. It's so unique, and it's so transportive that it's going to provide a new medium, not replacing movie theaters, and not replacing live people at events, but so immersive and in so many ways, and will require a new dexterity from filmmakers and storytellers and narrative people, a new opportunity. But it is the most transformative thing I've seen. And when I ran Sony, I saw a lot of really amazing things in those days. This is like not even in the same class. This is really going to be fantastic. I mean, Google, Oculus Rift, HTC, they're all coming out with the gaming with it. So we are going to be in an immersive entertainment environment, and it's going to mean more production, more talent, more business, more opportunity. I'm extremely effusive in my belief, and I don't own this, or I own this, but I don't own anything on this. I believe it's the most transformative thing I've seen in my lifetime in the business.
That's a big statement. So you've seen a lot of things come and go.
A lot of things.
Like how it kind of resembles 3D.
No.
How do we know that it's not 3D?
How do you know it's not 3D? I'll tell you how you know it's not 3D. 3D is like a iteration of 2D. This is an iteration of being there. You're never there. In 3D, if you're the director and you have the show and you're showing them, I got to watch them. Mm-hmm. In this, I can look at this person sitting here over here behind this chair with his head like this. Or I can see that woman out there. I can look up and see what the lights look like. I can look at this picture. And I'm not here. I'm in New York or Chicago or somewhere else. Now here's the beauty of it. Social. So you all know how voice activated the phones are. You say, call Joe Schmo. Mobile, home, it dials the number, right? This is a mobile phone. You go like this. You're in there. You say, call Sanjay. Dial mobile. Dial it. Dials the number while I'm watching the game. Right now. Not a year from now. Not a month from now. Right now. Watching the game. Sanjay, put on your thing. The game's on. It's fantastic. He puts it on. He says, oh my God. Did you see that basketball? Oh, where? Oh, yeah, over here. You can have 3 people on. You have a social experience of the same experience as a participant, not a passenger. That's transformative. That's really transformative. But take this for an idea. How will it change shopping? How will it change shopping? You know, shopping online is an incredible thing. But you're seeing these pictures, they're flat. Suddenly you're in Barney's or you're in the Gap and you're looking around. I already saw that. It's done. And you're looking at this, it goes, a little circle comes, you say, cost, $440, blue, black, green. You can buy it online. I mean, it's completely different experience. Try it. What do they say in that TV commercial many years ago? Try it, you'll like it. Try it, it'll change how you feel about what's coming.
And so can you talk a little bit about the production side? So is that going to create jobs in Los Angeles? Is it going to create jobs everywhere else?
It will create jobs everywhere where there are people that want to entertain other people, where they want to educate other people, where they want to train other people. It will be emotional transportation. It will be an emotive medium. It will allow you to interface with a whole set of business and creative sectors. And so there'll be so many people. Now, yes, we'll have to develop, they're already developing movies right now. You have to develop movies differently because you're not watching the movie, you're in the movie. And you don't want to walk out of a room while the main scene's happening. So you have to remember that there'll be a lot of technique, art, skill, and talent all mixed together to make it work. It doesn't mean it's an automatic Pandora box that you open up, everyone's going to be, James Cameron. But the idea is, the tool is so imaginative and so magical, and the operation of the pieces, you don't need $800 million of brick and mortar to be at the game, to be at the concert. You want to go to Coachella? $50, you're at the whole Coachella. You sit there and you watch Coachella. You're at them. You have to drive down there. But it's not watching television. Forget it. It's not television. You are there. You look at the kid smoking the dope. You look at the kid being arrested. You look at everything. You are deciding how you want to be there, what you want to do. You go like this. Go to a store, and suddenly, boom, there's a camera in the store, and you're in the store. Nobody's bumping into you. Nobody's stealing your car. Nobody's taking your food. You have your own food. I mean, it's not going to take away from going there. But think about it. My basketball arena or my movie theater, 400 people sit there. Or in the basketball, 18,000. But how many people could watch the game in every other city and every other state around the world at the same time? It is going to be a magical live production business and a magical mediated production business, a gaming business, a shopping business, an experience travel business. All of it will require writers, directors, actors, producers. I'm not so sure about brick. You know, I'm not, that's not my, I don't think it'll disappear, the physical studio, but I think it'll become less of the fulcrum of the whole business.
So as far as live events are concerned, like for the Warriors or for the Dodgers.
Or a concert, or a play, or a show. You want it, how about this, the Broadway show? How many people do you think would go to a Broadway show that didn't do very well? It had Sting in it. Remember that show that he did in Broadway? He did Sting on it, right? It was Sting, and it didn't do that well. But if $6, you could see Sting on Broadway, be at the show with Sting on Broadway, and you were living in Portland, Oregon, or you were living in Hakone, Japan, or you were living in anywhere in the world, suddenly you got a 7 billion, 500 million potential of people that could be there, not watch it on television, actually physically be there while it's happening. In other words, what you're seeing is while it's happening, or it could be recorded, and you can still be there. You'll see everybody as if they were there then, but that's all been captured. That's the same way you'll make a movie or a television show. But it's a transformative business, and it will, you remember this conversation. It will, if it fulfills 50% of its promise, it's going to be a magic. Listen, a lot of people a lot smarter than me are already onto it. I mean, you imagine Facebook buys it for $1.3 billion, Oculus. I mean, come on, they're not stupid exactly. They know what this means. So I think that this is the exciting thing, that technology is going to offer us a bouquet of economic, creative, business opportunities. And yes, California should be at the forefront of that because it is a technology state, it is a talent state, it is a city state like in the Renaissance for things to happen. But I think the idea of having the corner of the conclave of all the talent, those days are gone. The talent is everywhere. And that's the good news, not the bad news.
Okay, so if what you're talking about is a new segment, if you're right? So it's not that there aren't going to be 60,000 people at Dodgers opening day.
Totally.
There's going to be 600,000 people.
And those people will want to, once they get the taste of that, they'll want to be breathing in the same place that the players are, or the concert on the stage, or Coachella. It's not going to turn them off. That's just crazy. That, one medium doesn't disappear because another medium comes. Radio is still around. You know what I mean? Horses are still around. I mean, it's a question of what you do with it. So the concept is most folks get afraid of the future because it's indeterminate. They can't put their arms around it. Forget about getting your arms around what's going on. There's no way you get your arms around the future. No, it's not the light at the tunnel anymore. Remember, see the light at the end of the tunnel? If you see the light, get ready to run over. You're too late. So the idea is you have to have a different philosophy. You have to say, how do I manage the opportunities in this horizon? This is one of them. There are others. Augmented reality, a big new enterprise. IMAX films, giant films and screens will still be great. Big films, big extravaganza, socially gathering will still be great. But there'll be new aftermarkets for it. And that's the good news. It's all if you will, change is happening no longer. When I grew up, change was linear. Like before me, it was like this. But the point is, it's linear. Now it became exponential. Now it's three-dimensional. It's effervescent. Change is changing everywhere we go. It's changing at such a rapid rate, it's breathtaking. And so the idea is you have to have a different philosophy to approach it. You have to approach it being curious, not critical, because you'll get scared of it. It's so powerful. And I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it is the secret to opening up your opportunity. You can learn. I don't know how to do it. Everybody learns. The idea is the attitude is more important than the aptitude. And the attitude in this state has better be create cultural, creative, economic engines here that make this place vital important. Whether it's conclaves and conventions and incentives or tax subsidies or environments, they have to put some magic into it too. I mean, what do they do? Just lay back and say, give me it? That's what the state does. Don't work. They got to be active in their own rescue. And if they're not, people are going to flee.
Okay, and on that note, thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.